the "you're not alone" part. Hey there. Have you been struggling to figure out how to live a life on your terms? Have you been itching to make a change but don't know where to start? We are here to tell you
You're not alone.
The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz has sold over 20 million copies worldwide, making it a widely read book according to Amazon and Goodreads. It has been translated into 53 languages and has been on the New York Times bestseller list for over a decade, proving that you are, in fact,
Not alone.
Good job, Janice. Welcome to our very first Be Here Now Book Club episode. Today, we will provide info from the intro for the Four Agreements and then introduce the first agreement, be impeccable with your word. What does it mean? Why is it important? How can we start? Stick around and find out. Thank you for choosing to be here now with us. Where your presence invites different perspective and allows peace. We are live on the newstreamingnetwork.com TV and podcast and WGSN-DB Going Solo Radio. Do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, please comment, like, share, and subscribe. I am your co-host, Judy Forder, and I am here with my co-host in peace, Miss
Janice Leonard. Hi. Hi, everybody. So glad you're here to join us for our first book club. Hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoyed learning about it. Am I supposed to do something now?
Our nonprofit message.
We are a little nervous with this new format. I was so worried about forgetting to say you're not alone in the first part that I completely blanked this next part. We are so glad to be here. We want to share what we're learning about self-love and unconditional love and peace in our lives and share it with you. And one of the ways of doing that this week is through a book club. We are a nonprofit 501c3 organization, so your donations are tax deductible. Please go to, yes, right. If you're able, please go to our website, peacefulempowermentworks.org. Click the donate button on the top or on the bottom and give if you're able. We'd appreciate it. And you can write off on your taxes. For a special gift today, I have two brand new. Well, I have one that I'm keeping, but one extra brand new, the Four Agreements books that we would like to give out. We want to hear people comment. We want to make sure this a little more two-directional. So how about the first person to comment today on the show? Or if no one comments, the first person after, how's that? I will send this free book to, and it's brand new. I just opened it, looked at it, to you. If you are the first person, I'll contact you, or you can email us at our email address, which is peacefulempowermentworks@gmail.com. I'll get your address and I'll send it on out. I'll send it out right away in case you need it for the actual book club. So,
outstanding.
Yes. I love freebies.
Yes, so do I. What a gift. We're going to start out like we always do. We need Janice to bring us in.
Oh, yes. And Judy may have to hold my hand through this as I'm forgetting everything. That helped ground me. Yeah. Ooh. I'm here now. I'm not going to forget a thing.
See that?
Thank you.
Nice and grounded. Now, we are going to stick to our weekly affirmation. And I am so proud to announce that this is another Janice G. Leonard original. Let us have it, Janice.
Yay. Well, I was just thinking about your impeccable words. And these are the things that came to me. So thank you. I respect those in my life with respectful words. I create self-love with loving words. And I create a peaceful life with peaceful words.
Mm.
Because you create a lot of your reality with your words, what you're thinking. Ah.
So true. So true. So true. It's funny because when Janice sent these to me and I read them, I thought, oh, that's so good. So good. And I love that you have the self-love in there with loving words, because it all starts with how we speak to ourselves. How we speak to ourselves is so important.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yes, another Janice original. Yay!
I'll have to call them JGL originals because that's how my logo.
Okay. We shall moving forward.
Okay.
Everyone notified. Okay, so let's get started with our book club. We are very excited about this book. Janice and I both, I think the first time I became aware of the book was probably 8 years ago. And it was funny. This is a perfect time to reread it. Because there are some areas in my life I have found that I may be slipping in the agreement area. So it's a great refresher, and it's perfect, I feel like, for what's going on in the collective right now.
Yeah. Have any of you out there heard of this book or read it or are familiar with it?
Let us know. Comment below.
Right.
So we thought we'd start a little bit about the author. His name is Don Miguel Ruiz, was born into a family of healers in rural Mexico. While studying to be a doctor, a near-death experience led him to study ancient Toltec wisdom. Ruiz combines traditional knowledge with modern insights to promote personal transformation. As a shaman from the Eagle Knight lineage, he guides people toward personal freedom. His teachings focus on common sense principles that can lead to significant life changes when applied. Ruiz's simple yet profound messages have resonated with a wide audience, making him a respected figure in personal development literature.
I heard about him probably about 20 years ago. I think it's been that long.
All right.
So needless to say, I didn't remember. I just remember I liked it. I didn't remember what the content was. It was nice reading it again. And then I'm like, what? I forgot what Toltec tradition is. So that kind of is great, interesting, huh? Because
Yes.
that leads us into the next thought. All right, Wendy. Wendy's book. It's been on the list for a while. You read it this week. That's great. Thanks, Wendy. She says it's been on my list for a while, and I just finished it this week.
Yeah, it's a pretty quick read, and I'm not a very fast reader. So.
No, me either. I found the introduction a little harder. I don't know if anybody else did. It was more religious, I think, or magic religious in nature, and which didn't speak to me too much, but I really just took it in as, which means a lot to me, is like a lot of the wise shamans, and he's a shaman, I believe, right? Mm-hmm. And take it as the wise person talking instead of necessarily taking on all the beliefs that were said. It worked well.
Excellent. All right, let's move to our next slide.
And I'm going to go ahead and start talking about that next slide.
Okay.
Oh, I guess I'm not. That's yours.
There it is.
Oh, that's mine. Okay. How does the four agreements relate to Toltec wisdom? So that's why I've got this one. Toltec tradition. They were a group of very wise, ancient people who were in Mexico. Book is based on ancient wisdom of the Toltec, a group known for their spiritual knowledge. Way of life. Toltec wisdom is not a religion, but a way of life that emphasizes happiness and love. Woohoo! They were spiritual masters. It honors all spiritual masters and traditions, integrating their teachings onto a cohesive philosophy. So you can come into this with your own backgrounds, but if you need to alter it a little bit, you go ahead and do that. But you shouldn't have to much. Personal freedom. The agreements are tools for achieving personal freedom and breaking free from societal domestication, which I know Judy to talk about because that triggered her.
Yeah. The whole domestication thing. And we're going to talk about how the four agreements address the concept of domestication.
Okay.
Okay, so I thought it was funny because it really solidified a vision in my head, because one of the first things he says about domestication is we domesticate our children just like we do our pets. And I thought, isn't that interesting? I've never thought of it in that way. And you and I have been on this show's, we've actually been on for 2 years, a little over 2 years now, where we talk about belief systems and how our belief systems have been imposed, influenced upon us from the time we were born, and until solidified by the age of 7. So, the psychology realm says, and then becomes subconscious belief system that we don't question until there is something, I like to say, kicked me upside the head and made me question.
Yep.
So, yeah, the whole domestication process. The book explains how societal rules and beliefs are imposed on individuals from a young age, shaping their reality. So part of the agreements is a process to help us breaking free from that domestication. It offers a framework for breaking free from these imposed beliefs and reclaiming personal freedom. It helps self-limiting beliefs. Domestication leads to self-limiting beliefs that the agreements aim to dismantle. The path to authenticity. By overcoming domestication, individuals can live more authentically and aligned with their true selves.
It's a lot of what we work for here all the time.
Absolutely.
Getting rid of the old voices and beliefs that have been in you that it takes a work to let go of, or to create new ones and replace them with new ones. That's for sure.
Yes, and when I was thinking about this, the thing that popped in my head, and I know I've shared it on the show in the past, was, when I was younger, I'm dyslexic and it wasn't diagnosed. So I was always slower reading in school. And when I had to read out loud, it was, just full on sweats. And, that always made me feel like I was dumb. So that was the belief I carried. I would do everything I could to cover it up, to not have to read aloud, to, do whatever not to have to read. And then it wasn't until I was in college and my roommate looked at me and she was like, "You're not dumb, you're dyslexic. That's all. Just read out loud. If you read out loud, it helps you get more comfortable with the reading process and you can comprehend better." And I was like, okay. And I started to read aloud, just myself in the room. And, now I sit here, it hit me a couple weeks ago. I sit here and I read openly and freely to anybody who's watching. I would have never done that when I was in school. Heck, I wouldn't have done that in my 20s. So that's one of those, and it wasn't because people told me I was dumb. It was what I picked up from what everybody else was doing. I was comparing myself to others. And that's
you got the message.
I did. I got it loud and clear.
Yeah.
So it's not always what we're told, but it's about comparison. Comparing ourselves to other people always opens us up to, as Janice and I like to call them, the verbal beatings that we give ourselves.
That's right. Yep.
So yeah. So Janice is going to talk to us about the Toltec path to freedom in the 4 agreements.
That's right. Oh, this is mine. Wait a minute.
Yep.
Okay. What is the Toltec path to freedom? 4 agreements. The breaking old agreements. This is the Toltec path to freedom. We're going to talk more about the first agreement later on in the show. We're just trying to get this foundation down for you guys. Breaking old agreements. This is the path. It involves identifying and breaking self-limiting beliefs and agreements that cause suffering. Personal power. The path emphasizes reclaiming personal power by adopting new, empowering agreements. Warrior spirit. Like that one.
Mm-hmm.
It encourages a warrior-like approach to life, facing the fears and challenges with courage and determination. I like that. Transformation. That's my goal, really. That's what I want to be right now. So it's that one. Wow. Transformation. The path is about transforming your personal dream into one of happiness and love, creating a life of living in heaven on earth.
Yes. 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 And
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right. And now you're going to do how it can what does it look like? Now you're going to talk about how can the 4 agreements transform your life.
I would love to, Janice. Thank you. Oh, yes.
Oh my goodness. They're a little stiff here with this first book club.
We're working it out. Exploring and experimenting. With no shaming or blaming.
That's right. That's right. Our motto. What's the motto with you? Okay.
So how can the 4 agreements transform your life? It can shift a mindset. That's for daggone sure. The agreements encourage a shift in mindset that can lead to greater self-awareness and personal freedom. And we all know that if you have to become aware of something before you can heal it. So these agreements help us have a greater sense of self-awareness. Emotional healing. By following the agreements, you can heal emotional wounds and reduce suffering. Who doesn't want that? Improved relationships. The principles foster better communication and understanding, enhancing personal and professional relationships. It's funny, I paused with the fostering better communication and understanding because I felt it totally helped me better communicate and understand myself first.
Yeah.
And when I could
I think
do that,
he says
first,
that.
What's that?
I think he says that. Start with yourself.
Yeah, it all starts with yourself. So that's why, in this whole spiritual journey that I launched on, a lot of it in the beginning was, I was very much looking back, I could see I was very much in my victim. It was like, look at what this experience did to me. Look at what that person did to me. And it was these agreements that made me start thinking through that differently. And, they're not doing it to me. They're doing things for me. And what's it about? Reading these agreements helped me really focus on, okay, what's the lesson in this experience?
Right.
So yeah. That was so this is the introduction. This is the foundation on which the 4 agreements are based on. That's why Janice and I thought it was important just to give a little summary of that part before we got digging deep into any of the agreements. And
if any of you have any other thoughts, what you think it is or thought it was and perceive it to be or not, go ahead. Share it with us in the comments below.
Yeah, I mean, Janice and I, it was funny how we didn't even talk about it until right before the show, rereading the introduction when it referred to God and white magic or black magic, that you and I were both kind of like, ooh, should we even talk about those things? You see Janice's eyes got big because she's like, I can't believe they're talking about them. But I'm being guided to throw it out there. Did it cause pause for anybody else when they read those parts too? Because your words have power, and it's interesting to see why and to dig a little bit further into, okay, well, why would that give us pause?
Yeah. And I really had to look at why the word was talking about God. Why was that even making me think?
Right.
I think I think I'm afraid to admit that God has any power over my life. I control my life. I do it all. So I think I gave that a little thought, actually. That's what I came up with. Anybody else?
I love it. I love it. That's why we talk so much about surrender, because control was an illusion.
We are taught, and Wendy DiCarlo is saying, we are taught that those topics are not to be spoken about. They are dangerous. Thanks,
Exactly.
Wendy.
You know, they make them voodoo. Like,
Yeah.
so
Well, especially magic. I mean, he talks about black magic and white magic. Now, I read that and I think, well, I mean, I don't think anything of it, but I bet you there's people who think, oh no, black magic, that's the devil, demons. And well, that's kind of the dark side. That is what he's talking about. But, I don't take it quite so literally. So that didn't bother me. But there are probably, people out there who might.
Yeah. And it was interesting because I took it as, the white magic is the love, kindness, respect, gentleness. Those words that I can speak to myself, because that feeds, when I hear white, that feeds the light, that feeds the love, that feeds the truth. And then the black magic are all the things the words I use to beat myself up, the shaming, the blaming, the ridicule, the comparison. That's what I grouped as the black magic, because our words are power. They carry energy, and they can cast a spell.
Yeah.
So, all right, I think this is a great place for us to take a commercial break. And when we come back, we will start with our first agreement. Be impeccable with your word. We'll be right back.
Thanks. Dum.
Welcome back to Be Here Now, our first official book club episode, where presence invites perspective and allows peace. We're talking about the 4 Agreements today by Don Miguel Ruiz, and we are addressing the first agreement: be impeccable with your word. Be impeccable with your word.
Oh, I tell you, that one, this one, doesn't intrigue me in a bad way, but in the way that I often minimize anything I have. I actually have a bachelor's degree in communications, and not media, but in verbal and nonverbal.
Mm-hmm.
And this is so speaks to what I believe in, because it's that's the whole thing. I mean, even just
Uh-oh. Janice, you're freezing
one-way
up
communication.
on us.
We live in one communication. Okay. Well, I think I'm back.
Okay.
Hello? Am I frozen? Okay. But anyways, it's we live in a one-dimension communication. So it's all we can see is black and white word. We don't see the intention behind it. We don't see the body language. We don't see the facial languages, and it can be so misinterpreted.
Absolutely.
And Jennifer says, if words have energy, power, manifest them. The impeccable word is light magic. Yes. If words have energy, power, manifest, then the impeccable word is light magic.
Yep.
Negative, cruel words coming from other than a place of love are non-light magic. Very perfectly said, Jennifer.
I like the non-light magic.
Yeah, me too. It's black magic. Black magic can be, well, I've known a lot of Wiccans in my day, and I feel a little tendency towards that once in a while. But it's just about the earth and herbs, and anyways. But I've seen the responses people have to when they talk about magic. They think witches, black magic, and demons. So that was, anyways. He's talking about that.
It takes us back to when they burned them at the stake.
That's right. That's right.
There's an ancestral line that remembers being burned at the stake because they tapped into the magic.
That's right.
So, yes. So maybe that's a little bit of our hesitation as well, Janice.
That's right. Could be. I feel hot, kind of sparkly, just. I get the fire in my soul.
Boom, boom. Oh, that's great. Okay, so we have a slide for the first agreement. There it is. Perfect. Be impeccable with your word. That means speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. Truth and love. And that's a big one. Because remember, I always have to remind myself, and we say this, we've said it quite a bit on the show. Truth is truth, and it carries a very different vibration. I always say the vibration of truth, when we speak truth, it can't be argued. And we don't always like what we hear because the truth can be painful. But until we address truth, we can't make any changes.
I always thought, though, if you say the truth with love, that's so much less likely to happen. It's easier for it to be interpreted the way it's meant.
Yes.
If you say just like, oh, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. Duh, the person's going to be defensive and it's not going to be taken as love. But if you say, when you said that made me feel funny. I'm not sure. What did you mean about that?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what a difference. You're saying, oh, you're letting them know, whoa, that made me feel something.
Yeah. And it's funny because when you said love, speak your truth with love. It's that vibration of love. It's not that you use fluffy, flowery words. It's you're speaking from the heart. And when you speak from the heart, it can be felt. And there are hard truths that have to be shared. But when you do it with loving kindness, then the person can receive it. Because if you're going to speak truth to me and you're going to yell it at me or you're going to use foul words in the process, I immediately respond to the energy that it's delivered with. And I get defensive. Yeah.
That reminds me a little bit about my granddaughter yesterday day before yesterday, had a really hard time in school. She has social emotional issues. And she was in a really bad place. She was triggered. And she went to someone, was trying to talk about what was bothering her. And the person said, which is something we'd say, in theory, she said, well, just think about, you don't have to think that way. Think a different way. Think something else. It's like, well, that wasn't given with love. But we could say, you can make different choices if you want. We might say, there's all kinds of choices. If you're ready at that moment, you can think about it. What else? There's ways to say it. That's with love, and you're coming from a loving place or not. So you can imagine how she reacted and how anyone might react in that situation, or as opposed to saying the same thing out of love. It's totally different.
Yeah. And tone. It's funny because when Maddie was little, I'd always be like, watch your tone. She'd say, I'm sorry. She got real little and she got a timeout. And of course, you have to apologize for what you did. What did you do? And she'd be like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't, blah, 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 blah. Well, your tone does not tell me you're sorry, nor does your face. Fix your face and fix your tone.
Did that work?
No.
I was just like, I said a similar thing to my granddaughter yesterday when she was in the middle of this. That didn't work either.
No. But we are, we've learned a lot, and we understand that one of the things when people are in crisis, I have learned is ask them what they need. Do you need me to hold space for you and just listen? Do you need me to offer suggestions, guidance? Or do you need me to grab a shovel and join you and go, kick somebody's ass? What do you need? Tell me what you need.
I like that. Well, yeah, because it could start with, oh, I'm so sorry that you're sad. What's going on? What can I give you? What can I do for you? Mm-hmm. What a difference, It's
exactly.
So, yeah. So that's how we can do it for other people. But what about for ourselves?
Ooh,
let's talk about manifest your intentions, which is one of the ones that I get the seeds. He talks about planting seeds, and I've got this. They got these cards actually. There was when I went to look for alternate ways to learning the 4 agreements, because I'm not the best reader all the time. Anyway, so these are the cards. Comes in a nice little box like this. And there's 12, they have, for each agreement, they have 12 different seeds. So let's see if I can find them. Manifest your intentions. Because that was a good one. Unless you have something to say right off your head. Here you go. I get it.
Okay.
So this is what it says. Regardless of what language you speak, your intent will manifest through the word. What you dream, what you feel, and what you really are will all be manifested through the word.
That's perfect. Because the next slide, that's what it says, Janice. That's awesome.
Oh!
Yep. Through the word you express your creative power. It is through the word. There she is. Because most don't know.
Hey, Dawn.
Hi,
Dawn saying because most don't know how to answer that. You got that right. Thank you, Dawn.
Yep. So true. So depending on how it is used, the word can set you free, or it can enslave you even more than you know. Yes, and Janice and I are familiar with the enslaving, which I think many people experience. You know, those self-beatings are what keep your life very small, because you're too afraid to try something else for fear of failure, or what will other people think. And comparison is like throw yourself in jail and throw away the key. When you're constantly comparing yourselves to others and comparing yourself to the idea of what society tells us is perfection, you're screwed.
Yeah. Or you go the other way maybe, and you see how great you are to try to make everyone think you are. Or, look what I did. You know, you start bragging or saying things, because that's another way of dealing with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's one thing that he talked about, and manifest makes me think of this. He talks about Hitler in this first chapter. First agreement. It wasn't the first agreement, wasn't it? And, you know, and you talk about manifesting something. You know, you've got Hitler was speaking words. He spoke words, and those words really did manifest themselves into a movement, dare you say. And it was a creative power, that's for sure. You know, but it wasn't for the good.
It was not
for
the good of all.
So you think about how you manifest things with your words. He's a great person to compare with.
Yeah, what not to do.
Yeah.
Well, it's an example how they're empowered and can be used for shadow reasons.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
Yeah, it's definitely something. We talk about how we create our own reality, and we have the power to shift the experiences that we have. And it's through word. It's through the conversation with ourselves. What is that internal dialogue that we have going on in our head? Because this challenged me to start taking responsibility for that voice. Instead of just being like, oh, you know, that's the way it is. We have a thing with, oh, that's the Forder luck. That's what Forders do. That's blah, 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 blah. And I keep telling my brother, no, I'm working really hard to shift that. We're doing something different. We're choosing things differently now. And using those terms to let the universe know that I'm open and willing to receive all these different things, because we do have choice. And when I can say those things, it allows me to focus on the choice and take the responsibility to make it. So using those words more carefully. And, you know, the big thing I always have to remind myself and want to remind everybody else about is, you know, years and years and years have been poured into us having these belief systems. You know, it is in our subconscious. It is autopilot. So in us setting the intention and doing the work to shift these beliefs and the patterns, it takes repetition. Give yourself grace. Please give yourself grace as you move through this. Be impeccable with your word. And it's funny because I finished reading this chapter and I realized that the agreement is be impeccable with your word, not words. And I was the one that sent all the information to our producer so that she could put everything out. And of course, it says words. I immediately started that internal dialogue of, oh my gosh, you're so stupid. How could you screw this up? Blah, blah, blah. And then it was like, wait, what did I just read? Be impeccable with your words. People make mistakes. I did what I could do in the most perfect way I could in that moment. Give yourself grace. So it's like I had to talk myself through this first agreement all over
That's
again,
right.
because immediately I was panicked. Oh my God, what are people going to think? They're coming to the first book club and she got the freaking first agreement wrong. It's words, not words.
Oh my gosh.
Spinning
That,
and
that
making
reminds me.
a bigger deal than it needs to be.
Oh my gosh. Wait a minute. I like this. One of them is release the need to be right. Oh my gosh. That just so what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not. Oh yeah, it is. Okay. Let's see if we can find that one.
Uh-huh.
Release the power of manifesting your own intentions. Oh, I like, actually, I'm going to create a beautiful dream, because I think I have a problem with not having dreams. I've been so caught in the muck
Mm-hmm.
of life that, you can't control the future. You just control what you have now. Again, that's just that what can I control thing. I can
Right.
only control the now. So I don't have a lot of dreams. So one of the seeds he talks about is create a beautiful dream.
Mm.
Your word can create the most beautiful dream, or your word can destroy everything around you. Impeccability of the word only creates beauty, love, and heaven on earth. So again, the impeccability, when you're dealing with an impeccable word,
Yep.
you create beauty.
I love that. I love it. And, there's something that's coming up right now that, you said you're in the muck. And with all of the shifting and all the chaos in the world right now and in the collective, I keep receiving the message over and over and over again that we need to be still. We need to be present. And when we say still, it doesn't mean our body's not in motion. Our minds need to be still, because you can't see through muddy water. It's until the mud settles that then you can see clearly. And that's the message that I keep hearing over and over and over again. Do your best not to buy into the chaos. Be still. Allow your mind to be still. Allow the muck to settle, and the clarity comes.
Does anybody listening have a part of the book, the first agreement, that really spoke to them? Go ahead, feel free to write a note, and we can talk about that as well.
Yes.
I found the card that I was talking about in the meantime.
Okay.
Of replace fear with love. Now, big fear person, anxiety issues, whatever. I do not have anxiety. I have feelings of anxiety here every now and then.
Well done, Janice.
Thank you.
You are not your emotion.
That's right. So, replacing fear with love. The human mind is like a fertile ground where seeds are continually being planted. When you're impeccable with your word, your mind is no longer fertile ground for the words that come from fear. Your mind is only fertile for the words that come from love. So when you're impeccable with your word, your mind is no longer fertile for ground. So can you define impeccable for me again?
Impeccable. It's funny. The old school meaning is without sin. It means you don't speak against yourself.
It's about being with love.
Yep. You speak with love.
Yeah.
I love that. Impeccable equals love.
Yeah. So when you speak it with love, impeccably, with impeccableness, the seeds plant and the other ones won't. So okay, I just want to get that visual in my mind.
Yeah. We were talking about that visual as like those old outdated beliefs that don't serve us. Me, I pictured the brain being hard. And the more we speak with we are impeccable with our word, then the softer that ground gets, and those seeds of love can be planted and grow. Softens things up. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty. it makes, it makes a huge difference. We talked about the inner dialogue, opinion. The belief systems that we were raised on were basically our parents' opinions that we agreed to because we didn't know there was anything different. So it's like you hear it out there all the time where your childhood experiences, traumas, things like that aren't your responsibility. They're not your fault. But as an adult, it is 100% your responsibility to heal them.
That's right. And Wendy says that's how the author defines it, what we were saying just before this. So that's great. Thanks, Wendy.
Yeah. So that is, that's something, this is the perfect place to start, because how we speak to ourselves matters. It influences how we show up in the world and how we show up for the people that we love.
I know, interesting. It's kind of pulling a lot of things we've talked about already together. Is one of the seeds on the cards talked about is cultivate faith, which is an issue I have. Cultivate, it's got a really nice picture. To have great faith is to have great power, because your intent, your will is undivided. When your word isn't dissipated by doubt, the power of your words becomes even stronger. And Dawn says, the challenge can be when you think negative thoughts and then forgive yourself and try to empty your brain to change your words. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's
where that repetition comes in, and giving yourself grace. Because I would catch myself and then beat myself up for doing it.
Right. Yeah.
So, the beating just nullifies everything. So it's about giving yourself the grace to understand that this is a process. It's going to take repetition to rewire that brain. Thank you. I'm loving all the comments today. Thank you so much, everybody.
I appreciate that.
Okay. So Janice and I are going to leave you with, let's give them something to talk about, but it's think about. Let's give them something to think about.
Okay. Tell me.
We want to ask you this question. When was the last time you said you were going to do something but didn't end up doing it? How do you feel about not doing what you said you would? What is the benefit? Is it a pattern? And is it an opportunity to beat yourself up? Because that's what you're used to doing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so just give those things some thought. And then for your homework, yup, I said homework, people.
You don't have to submit it.
No, we don't have to submit it. For the next week, we're asking that you pay attention to your words, both spoken aloud and in your head. Write down when your words were impeccable, when you were impeccable with your word and spoke your truth, and when you didn't. So in my head, being the PE teacher that I am, it's like columns. Okay, so I'll just have 2 columns, and this is what I said that was impeccable, and this is what I said that wasn't. And remember, we do not judge. It's simple observation. We sit on that observation deck of non-judgment and we watch. We're collecting data. Stay focused on your words and write them down. There's the 2 columns. Make the 2 columns. One for your word, impeccable word, and one for the one that was not so impeccable. Do it every day and you're going to start to see a pattern.
That's a great idea. Don't worry, you don't fail if you don't do it, because we do not judge.
We do not judge. And like Janice said, the homework does not have to be turned in.
Oh, the H word.
Exactly. Oh, well, we want to thank you all for joining us today. It's been so fun having the comments. And we look forward to next week when we will be talking about the second agreement. Don't take anything personally.
That's a good one for me too. I hope it is for you guys and that you're able to join us, or if you're not, that you're watching the recording and you can watch it after And you can still write comments, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say and joining us again next week while we look at Don't Take Anything Personally.
Absolutely. So thank you for choosing to be here now with us. Please always remember,
You are not alone.
and don't ever forget, you are awesome.
That's right.
Yeah. Thank you
Bye,
so much.
everybody. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Bye.